on the Parks and Rec
Thank you.
Committee.
Mark?
As an alternate. I get to throw my weight around a little more.
Look for
4 meetings a year, which isn't bad, 1 per quarter.
the Todd Howland Park.
That's right. It's senior park.
I want a fountain.
The senior park.
Guaranteed to have pension.
Yeah, right next to the cemetery.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be.
All right, it is 6:01. I'll call the Dalton Township Planning Commission meeting for February 20th, 2024 to order. And we'll have us roll call. Dave, I'm here. Jesse? Here. Todd? Here. Lee?
Here.
John is excused. Casey?
Here.
And Kevin? Here. All right. To the agenda, nothing to add, just a discussion item. You have some items for us at that point that you'll. All right. Anyone like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes for the January 30th meeting and resolution SU 24-01. Now, is that, if they weren't at the meeting, they're not allowed to vote on that, or is that?
Correct, they should abstain.
Okay, so we will, can we do them together?
Yes.
Okay. Gentlemen, is there anyone that would like to make a motion to approve minutes and resolution?
Oh, sorry, that's right, they weren't here.
Make a motion to approve the minutes and resolution. Any support? I'll support, I support it. Support. All right, all those, and we can do this by roll call, or do we have, can we do it as a? Okay, all right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Yeah. All right, we are up to public comment. We do not have public here. Do I still need to open up public comment? Here. Okay, I will open up the public comment at 6:03. Standing forward, we will go ahead and close public comment at 6:03. No items for public hearing. We do have some communications that are in there. The planning and zoning report was kind of interesting. No unfinished business, and we will bring on new business. We will have a discussion item tonight on home-based businesses and home occupation.
This really just started because it was brought to our attention with the 50% rule on the using only 50% of an accessory building for a home-based business as potentially being unreasonable. It seemed like the planning commission might want to have a conversation about that, see if they can remove that. While having that conversation, we should best to go through it and make sure that all their changes are done.
Does anyone have any idea why that would be the case? I think that's good. Any reason to see why you would only limit a building to 50%?
Just to throw a number out there to limit, for government to limit people from doing what they want to do and throwing a number on it, that's what I'm
We
asking.
came up with no common sense to
I
it.
don't see any common sense.
Especially if it's a home, like it's at 25% of your home. Accessory building, you use more of your accessory building than your home.
Yeah, I don't know when that came about. The funny thing is with that, which, I mean, I never applied to that stuff personally, but personally, how I wound up here was we had to get a special use to construct a pole at my house back in 2013, 2014, somewhere in there. And the planning commission at the time was extremely explicit and actually put it in my special use permit that there would be no business use of my building. They were really worried that I was gonna take something from my shop and overcrowd my building. which what does it matter? If the stuff's inside, the stuff's
Yeah, that would be
inside.
tragic.
It's a storage building to keep stuff inside.
Yeah.
But they were extremely concerned about that, and I remember it was very odd. And I remember it was stated right in my special use permit that there would be nothing to do with any businesses at my.
Whereas they didn't try to throw in some inspections in there.
Well,
Just to
and it was
maintain
just
your
very,
compliance.
Like, really? I mean, but, yeah, no, I don't want any stuff there, number one, but even if I sold it, I park a skid steer there for the winter. It's inside,
It's yours.
but that's all I know about. I don't know what it was at that time, even if, I don't remember changing anything with it since, I think it's been like that for a long time. But I
You know, I think it's been 7 years for me and I cannot, it was like that before. And I don't know if we have anyone that can give us a reason. I mean, maybe if there is a reason, we certainly could not come up with one.
I mean, it's not my reasoning, but the only thing I can think of why they put it in there, because they'd rather push it to like a commercial. If you're gonna have a business, you gotta push it to commercial instead of overburden the residential area.
Yeah.
So
which makes sense, I mean, but here again, it's a special use from that,
Yeah.
which you can handle it on a case by case basis.
Yeah.
Would be my opinion.
That makes sense. I mean, it's not like government to force your hand on anything.
Yeah, so it's just, that's my only thinking, that's what the purpose was, but not everybody's gonna be doing fixed business, so I don't think it's probably overburden anything.
I mean, Dave's Jackhammer Emporium wouldn't be a good thing to put in your neighborhood, but something we couldn't figure for what he's using it for, literally that next couple houses down.
Which that sound like a bad job.
Yeah.
On him, I mean, not on him, but that done to him.
And that,
Sounds kinda messed up.
he had to dance through all of it, I'm sure would be. It's probably just an understated way of stifling growth for somebody's existing small business. The guy wants to be an auto mechanic, he's got one bay and a lift. The old method or ordinance probably wouldn't appreciate he's doubling it now and so on and so forth. So I think I can think of.
Yeah, I honestly felt bad for the guy from TNA because it was like,
Yeah, he
he did more than his due diligence. And now here's this new guy is
he had to,
kind of getting off. Which,
that was 20 years ago, he said, I think,
Yeah.
right?
oh,
Yeah.
So interestingly, on the definitions, on the home-based business, it says operated by one or more residents of the dwelling on the property. And on the home occupation, which is by right, it's not by special use, so it should be a little tighter. That says by the residents of the dwelling and not more than one other person. It almost seems like those two are backwards as far as the definition is concerned. And the definition for an accessory building, which, for example, either one of these might apply to, is a subordinate building detached principal building located on the same parcel, devoted to an accessory use. So right there, it's devoted to an accessory use. So whether you're using half of it or all of it, it's still an accessory use of, right? And that's the definition. So in my
Yeah.
mind, why do we need the 50%? Because even if your home-based business is taking up your entire accessory building, it's still an accessory use in that simple little paragraph. The
So you gotta
building's
build-
an accessory building. It's an accessory use to the property.
So you have to build twice the building so that you could use what your intended use would be. That makes, I guess,
So the 50% thing does not make any sense to me. I understand maybe without, I mean, yeah, they're just trying to limit it, right? Because they don't want something out of hand, but we already have the size of the buildings limited.
And you're gonna restrict half.
How are these, or this ordinance enforced with respect to, we talked to this gentleman about got a lot of old cars around the garage, unregistered or unrepaired, whatever. And that was something that, I think the ordinance prohibits him from doing. And how does that get enforced? Did somebody ever do a drive-by or, you know, I don't know, just a complaint?
Everything's complaint
Would have to be, okay.
If he has, if he starts to collect cars and parts and store them outside,
Yeah,
then, we receive a complaint about it, or it's
okay,
noticeable driving by, then
yeah,
we'd say something. But it's, if someone has an operable vehicle parked outside overnight, which
right.
he stated is not his intent. His intent is to have them, come in, work on them, have them leave, and not store them, have them sitting around. But if there's a plated and operable vehicle there,
Yeah,
it's not
that's reasonable.
parked there in a parking area.
Yeah, so 1637B, for example, that contradicts the definition of home-based business in chapter 1. I shouldn't say contradicts, but chapter 1 says operated by the residents, and then 1637B says carried on by one of our members of the family, plus not more than one additional employee.
Hire somebody, hire a home-based business.
So I'm just understanding you can't have more than one employee, I guess.
I think a home occupation can still only have one employee as well.
Yeah, I didn't think that much. Does that say that to me?
Yeah, 4.18C is not more than one.
Okay, gotcha. So that's fine then, but maybe just revise that definition in chapter 1 there. Matches at least.
I know our intent was to look at the gentleman's proposal who was coming before the board, but hearing what the first guy went through, that's the scary part of this. It made no sense even trying to figure that part out. So trying to figure out how you So home-based requires the special use, but a home occupation does not.
Correct. Unfortunately, there's no real good delineation of what's what, aside from the list provided 16.37.
The home-based business list.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Or if it's, if they're doing furniture upholstery, automatically, yes, they're doing that. If they're,
I feel like the difference to me is that a home-based occupation is you working from home for another company. You just work from home. Your occupation is from your home. And then a home-based business seems to be like you're actually you're running a business, like you're a business of some type. That,
Yeah, you mean like remote work?
yeah,
Okay, I would classify that as just remote work and not a home occupation.
what is a home occupation?
I think one thing that we have is, one home occupation we have is a gentleman is a firearms dealer, but he does so online.
Okay, but he's running a business.
Yeah.
So to me, that's a home-based business, not an occupation.
Yeah, it's like,
It's a single member
But-
home-based business.
so business and occupation are by and large the same term.
Isn't your occupation your job?
So in the definition of business, you'll find occupation. In the definition of occupation, you'll find the word business. So cutting between those two is kind of difficult, but he'll sell them online and ship them out versus someone actually going to the place. I think it's, in my opinion, a line would likely be drawn where a large number of people were going to his house to purchase in person or pick up, then that would border on home-based business just because there's more trips being generated.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
like an attorney or some sort of consultant.
Right.
Almost consultants work only over, who visits their consultant at their home?
Yeah, so they would likely be,
Sure.
they would likely be a home occupation.
But honestly, when's the last time you went to a catering business and did anything there?
Yeah.
I mean, but that's clearly listed as home-based business.
Yeah.
When's the last time you took your furniture to be upholstered and you like stayed there while they upholstered it?
Yeah.
A lot of times they pick it up from you and you get it upholstered. So there's really, these definitions do zero to make a delineation between the two.
Yeah, and maybe like realigning, catering business to home occupation would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Having home-based business would be more for, like hair salons where people are there, people are gathering.
Right.
Or,
I can see there to be a need for difference as long as it's clear of what that difference is, I guess, to where, I guess in my mind, I mean, like maybe home-based business means, okay, yeah, you're gonna have some traffic coming and going. Home occupation means you're not gonna have traffic coming and going, but you're conducting business. For example, I mean,
Where in the world would you have an indoor storage of boats and RVs and only use 50% of your on-site accessory building and have them coming to your house? Is there a big market for
That's-
like,
I think that's someone wants to store a second buddy's trailer.
that's your,
Right. That's almost crossing the line of it's none of your business.
I know, that's like getting way into your business when I'm storing in my
Indoor
building.
storage.
I can see outdoor storage needing that.
Yes, exactly.
right.
So do we
So
want,
you think of like an occupation as people don't come to your house. You do
Like
all your,
sometimes, I would say sometimes they can, but it
Maybe
would
where it's
depend on-
generally-
you're making this way more
It
clear.
would depend on how many people,
So it's less people coming to your house.
it would depend on the traffic, so I don't think it's reasonable to say, you can have a home occupation as, say, an engineer, but you can't have people meet you at your house.
so that's John, in a sense, he does his whole web design stuff from home, and nobody comes to his house. He said he would be pissed if anybody ever showed up.
Right. Yeah, and I'm kind of picturing in my mind of that. Where if you drove by a house, you're like, you have no idea that you have a home occupation going on, but a home-based business, you might drive by and see a little sign there, hey, we store boats.
Yeah.
Or,
Right.
Okay.
we fix guns, or
Right.
Yeah.
we have 2 hair cutting chairs, or.
There's commerce involved.
Yeah.
Right, and you drive by and it's very evident that, okay,
Right.
there's a business there, but it's not a big business.
Exactly.
So is it,
Would
would it be, like, would signage wouldn't matter, because you could have it for an occupation type of, you could have it,
For advertising.
yeah, like for advertising, saying what you do, but you might not have it that it's done on site. But a good stipulation is if people come to your house for the business, then that would be home-based business.
Well, there's probably something on their signage that says you can't.
I'm just not sure how good I feel about even having section M, which is attempting to define something that's not definable. If you have a photography studio, but you only do shoots at Pure Marquette, then you should not fall under home-based business. If people,
correct.
we really should redefine this to like people coming to your house, whatever quantity we wanna say, or
I think that's the stipulate, that's
because
exactly it.
that's what's gonna really affect your neighbors is how much traffic is coming and how many people are outside your home and things like that.
Yeah, I would think even if someone's doing, photography outside of their house, but they're, if they're based at their house as their office, I
I don't see that as a
from an
home-based
administrative
business.
point of view, it's not practical and efficient to.
Which, yeah, I mean, a photography studio, I guess, would mean a studio in your building, right? Not necessarily just a photographer, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
But I do agree that, yeah, some of these lists sometimes, it's like, what about these other, there's 100 things in there you're missing.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm thinking impact on facilities,
Right.
roads, other infrastructure,
Neighbors.
inventory in, inventory out. Are there a lot of trucks
Right.
in your house?
Well, I don't like the ones we're calling out because I think at least over half of them, like cabinet making, like you don't really go to the cabinet maker. Like we had some cabinets made. We emailed him, we sent him pictures. He made the cabinets, he sent us pictures, he delivered them to our house. I never went to his house to get my cabinets. I need to single out people because this makes it seem like we need, like if you made cabinets out of your home, we would have to see it at the planning commission level. And I don't see
And
how
something like-
that's,
something like that where you're doing the activity at your home, I think would fall better under a home occupation.
yes.
If you're manufacturing a product, then it's,
Is it the visit? That's kind of what it is. If you don't
I
have,
think, I mean,
Yeah.
to me,
traffic
that
is a big part
stipulates
of it.
business,
To
yeah.
me, that,
Right.
traffic is a big part of it.
Because that's what you try to control. I would hate it if you saw cars coming, going down. I mean,
If you're coming and going from your house 40 times a day, it doesn't matter. But if you got 10 customers going by or whatever it may be, it's
I
like
think
that adds
that's
some
something
traffic.
to be upset with people, going 40 times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So am I also reading this correctly that you cannot have a beauty salon in the Lake District or the RM district or?
Correct.
That's one of the things
You can only do it,
Steve wants to.
yep, you can only do it in the R1 and or the ag district.
But now you can own animals in any district, but you can't have someone get their hair cut at your house?
So I do understand the L, I kind of understand the LR district. But I also don't.
Well, why?
Yeah, it's like
If you have a driveway, like we know somebody that has a driveway, it fits like 7 cars. She can't cut people's hair and have one she can only cut one person's hair at a time. So how many cars do you think are at her house?
That's why we're looking at it. It needs to be revised.
And that's the benefit of it being a case by case basis as well. If it's a postage stamp lot, somebody
But
wants,
still they have to pay to come in front of us.
they do.
Like that just feels mean. Like, oh hey, you have a huge lot. You had to pay the same amount as somebody we really did need to look at. I really let's focus. I think we should focus on some sort of setting standards for the traffic that it'll.
so is
Not
it
calling
more not calling out specifics?
Correct.
Giving, do you do it based then on visits?
Yeah, these are completely arbitrary. They include like 9 things, and then they skip like 100 other things that could be way more annoying.
Are both the home occupation and home-based businesses, they both need a special use or just the home-based business?
Just home base. Right.
Like, what's the reasoning for the home occupation if you don't need to say, like, do you need to even say anything in the township? Like, you should, but then like, in my mind, like,
It's something that,
what is the should? Why should you?
So you can
It's
get the
your-
government in your
That's
business?
the thing, like,
it's one of those things, there's no,
yeah,
application only, no fee.
yeah,
And
it's your
home. We've just had it before where, we had one case before where a neighbor complained that somebody was assembling golf clubs in their garage.
Jesus.
So it might not be the number of Amazon trucks going in and out, that's hard to, I can't determine.
Oh, I'm not asking the number.
I can't determine what's
my driveway.
Do you know how many Amazon trucks are in on my driveway? I have 4 daughters. They need lots of stuff.
I was just thinking, saying, my daughter's like, literally, there's a truck, she goes, I got 3 things coming today, I got, you know, like.
I'm 3 separate trucks.
Yeah.
Wow.
5 minutes apart.
Man.
They put a bread underneath your trips.
They take pictures, let you know.
Yes.
My questioning, like
So,
14.
so,
like, why-
Well, and
I-
so the other thing is, I guess, that I don't agree with, but what I've always been told is with a home occupation, for example, if it's not listed in here, you're not allowed to do it. That's what I've always been told. If it's not listed, you're not allowed. So I don't know if that's correct, but that's what I've always been told.
Yeah,
Well, everybody's
nothing listed,
just asking for permission all the time.
but exactly a home occupation is, it's just.
I don't agree with that, but I
Yeah.
would still like to protect the people that want to do that and have a paragraph says, yeah, this will allow it to be done.
Stephen, I have a recommendation on
Yeah.
16.37M. Just add a sentence, these are examples, or for example, following are a few examples of
Yeah.
home-based
May-
businesses.
May include, but are not
Right,
limited.
obviously, we can't
Yeah,
list them
that's
all.
number 10.
I mean, these were probably very representative of what came through the township at some point in time.
Yeah, and number 10 does list that.
Right.
Which I think it might be a good idea to follow that example and say, you know, if zoning administrator is unsure as to whether or not something is a home occupation or home-based business, the planning commission can take a look at it.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
Just not as a special use or
So
anything.
let's say that comes before us, so what would we say, what would be a reason for us to define somebody to say you're a home-based business or occupation? Is it just the visit then? Is that, if someone needs to visit the home, then it's a home-based business? I mean, are there examples that I'm missing, because there may be some that might not be.
I think if you're hosting people in your house, it's not just somebody picking up something from your porch, for God's sakes, like, seriously. I think it's somebody actually coming into your house, like, you know, I have, you know, whatever. You have appointments in your house, like if you're a cabinet maker and you have 27 visits that day with people who are coming in to look at cabinets, that you have some sort of little showroom or something, that's different than some dude just making cabinets and like he's just emailing and stuff. So I think it's people actually coming to your home, or you're hosting them or hosting their something, like their car. I mean,
Then if you have somebody that does in-home massage therapy, every time a customer comes over, that's considered a
Home-based.
I mean, that's really no different than a beauty shop. I mean, if you're,
Right.
I would say
tax preparer or something like that, you're gonna have people coming and going, but it's only gonna be a percentage of,
There's a
The
lot,
year is not
there's a
gonna be-
lot of that in homes today, definitely is. What I would ask them is, in definition, or what are you offering, product or service or both? Please explain, and go from there. That's why they come here, or in
Interesting,
the
yeah.
application, define what it is, you know, what form of commerce? Is it a volunteer, I don't know, but is it a product or service or both? Help us understand what it is you're doing. So I don't think we need to get tangled up in all the possibilities, because there's some creative people out there, especially since the internet. I mean, let's face it, this could have been written who knows when. A lot of tax preparation on a home stuff for sure.
if we go back and start at the beginning of this, so are we in agreement that we should not have a building limited to 50%?
Yeah, and well, the other thing I think too is, I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but or I don't know what Steve all wants to try to get done tonight, but I almost wonder, should we like, me, the home occupation thing's a little easier, so we should just try to like tackle that, like get that one out of the way and then maybe.
Yeah.
What did you have in mind?
I was just kind of looking for some direction.
Right, to get some drafts
Get some
going.
drafts going and.
Right.
See
But
which-
yeah, I would
see which direction you want me to
I
go.
mean, and that,
I think
Or you want me to?
we've got kind of a stumbling of an idea that it's, if you visit the business, if you're visiting the home,
Right, I agree.
that's.
Person to person visits or transactions, commerce, whatever, that's a whole, a whole different thing than designing websites from your home or doing tax preparation.
I really, again, in home occupations now I'm looking at, I really don't understand limiting it to different zoning districts. I feel like if you're taking it on a case by case basis and you have a list of things that are acceptable and not acceptable, then how can you not take that same list and apply it in every zoning district?
That's a little weird. I agree. But an auto repair business on a lakefront lot, it's gonna work, I mean,
Yeah, you just wouldn't, that definitely
you
wouldn't.
can't get too, right. There's gotta be some limitations.
But in that token, for things that definitely won't work, like in a lake lot, I don't feel the need to have in my book excluding them, because you can easily just
Yeah.
be, there's other aspects of the requirements that you can automatically say, well, you don't qualify for that based off their specific property, then you don't have to say, oh, it's also because you live in the Lake District. Like, you can give them a real, like, living in a certain district is not a reason. Telling them you don't have a big enough property, you don't have this, you don't have that, that's concrete, that's a reason. And there's plenty enough things in here that you could.
Bees. From the
What'd you say?
Lee, do you have bees? Sell honey?
Oh, I thought you said
sell
bees.
honey, but I don't have bees.
Okay, it's just off.
It's just from a local guy that does it.
Okay.
Too many things. These are all in there.
Those are by right in the ag districts.
That's what you're
That
saying?
was just an abrupt interruption.
But yeah, a grease monkey drop right on the lake, that keeps everybody humble.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I mean, I have a guy who works on my car, he lives in a nice subdivision and does it out of his attached garage. One car at a time. And nobody cares, nobody complains.
Mhm.
Just an extra licensed car parked in the driveway for a day.
So if he comes and picks up your car and drives it home and says it's his rental, we wouldn't have any idea that's what he's. Then you start getting into what are we looking for? I mean, that's.
If it's drivable.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why a home occupation would require you to have an employee. I feel like that's kind of graying it between you being a home-based business. If you have an employee, aren't you a business? How are you not a business if you're paying an employee? So
Again, there's
I don't understand how the home occupation says
Right.
that you can have plus not more than one other person.
Well, I read through this whole occupations thing. I don't know, in my opinion, like 418B best describes it. Not change the essential character of the dwelling or accessory building and not be evident in any way from the adjoining street or adjacent or nearby properties.
But do you think a beauty salon is in here? Do you think anybody would know if somebody had a beauty salon in their house?
That's in the home base.
Right, so how is that a business, but,
Yeah, or the 4.1 is different.
That's true.
what, no, but what I'm saying
That's a good point.
is, yeah. That doesn't change the character at all either of a home. Neither is really a photography shop. It's usually just or a photography studio. It's usually
Right.
just one little area of your house that has backgrounds and some things for newborns to wrap up in or something.
Right.
But, and at the same time too, I guess, we're not, I mean, to me,
If I was saying, hey, I want to do a home occupation and I want to have hot hair, I don't think that automatically makes me be a home-based business if it's not
Well-
happening from the street from what I'm doing.
Right, that's what I'm saying. We're saying the same thing, just a little different. Technically though,
So
if you're a
take out-
beauty salon,
so
you're a
take out
home-based
them
business.
Items
Take all the items
take
out.
the items
Yeah.
out to clarify, because, you know, I would highly argue that and say, well, hey, I caught here in my basement, it's not evident from the street, it's home occupation. It's not a home-based business.
Yes, the difference, so you're saying, in your opinion, the difference between a home-based business and a home occupation, nobody would know you're doing anything. In a home-based business, your neighbors might know.
Exactly.
Okay, that's
in my
really
mind,
easy to
in my
forget.
mind, but then how do we write that?
Yeah,
then
but how do you write
I think that 418B is a very good explanation of home
Yes.
occupation. I don't care what it is,
Yep.
as long as we don't see it. I guess. But that's what makes sense to me.
Yeah,
And it seems like this home occupation verbiage is pretty clear and simple. Other than just say all districts, right? I mean, why does it matter if,
That's
I
I'm
mean,
trying
what
to figure
happens
out.
when you have a house in a commercial district? They can't have a home occupation now?
right, because we do have a lot
If
of
you
those.
go out in C1, but then the house in C1, right? So we should just say all districts, I would think.
Yeah.
Again, it's not visible to anyone. So you're not.
Just because you're zoned C1, but your use is residential, you shouldn't be. But technically, that's what this does, it excludes you from having a home occupation.
We don't consider Airbnbs to be a business, do we?
Nothing to say.
That's not Jeff, nothing. We don't regulate them in any
We
way.
Yeah,
Got it.
They're
it's gray.
single-family residential dwellings.
Or
And
what,
if a single family wants to rent it for a night or a month, that's, as of right now, we don't regulate that.
do we have apartment buildings in our township?
We do. We have one on Whitehall Road,
Okay.
another, a couple more units, Whitehall and Tyler.
Do you feel like, I actually totally agree with Jesse, like if it doesn't change the character or people don't really know you're doing it, then I get to the point of 1637, are there really that many home-based businesses that would actually be permitted that do change the character? I really can only think of like an auto repair shop, it's like it now. Like, because you might have to have some cars parked outside, but like what other home-based type business would anybody really know you were doing? That would actually be permitted. Like if you're running an excavating company out of your house, the planning commission's not gonna permit that anyway, are they? I mean, that's a lot of traffic.
If it's one guy in his truck trailer with a bobcat and a backhoe,
Yeah,
that could be reasonable.
but yeah, I suppose, but I mean, in the end, isn't he just parking in his house?
That's what's running out of their house for Ohio.
Right.
My father-in-law,
Right.
not here.
One that I've seen now and then around the region is people that sell firewood. They stack it, they have signs, you know, and bigger signs than you might think.
Yeah.
If you don't,
Right.
you don't know my neighborhood, but
Right. No, I don't.
To give you some direction then, under 1637M, I really think you should either completely remove calling out any businesses at all, or you should use more broad terms and not, because in my opinion, I would not consider a beauty salon, a photography studio, furniture upholstery, cabinet making, television appliance repair, or catering, or indoor storage of boats to be a home-based business. That seems like a home occupation to me. Your neighbors would probably not know whatsoever if you're repairing somebody's TV in your house.
Right.
So for the,
And then it doesn't include all the other things except motor vehicle repair that you would notice, like running a garbage company out of your house or running, an excavating company out of your house.
would you describe a home-based business then as the exact opposite of B?
Yes, basically.
So we would then say a home business changes the essential character of the dwelling or the accessory building.
It is
Could
evident.
change.
And is evident.
It is, and just make it so we have those two things working, so they're not,
Yeah.
we have two definitive things.
And I would say sometimes with like
I
a
think they
cabinet shop or like a sawmill, there's it straddles both sides of the line where You know, it could be some guy in his 2-car garage.
This is so terribly written. Did anybody notice 1637 in the home-based business act says there shall be no change in the outside appearance of the
Yes.
dwelling? Well, what? Then I'm a home occupation then, right? Because there's,
Right.
so you're gonna have to strike that for sure, because a home-based business,
That's
you may
part of-
notice that
Part
there's
of why we
outside
need to
change.
clarify this too, right, is for Steve, so he can say, okay, this, that, right, and here's black and white.
Yeah. Clearly, these were written at 2 different times without looking at the other ones whatsoever.
You're basically giving me a Sharpie and a red pen. How much license do I have?
Yeah, do you have a good idea of where we're going, what direction we're going now? Yeah.
I would say all districts for both of them.
Yeah, I don't see a reason why we
No.
don't throw districts under the bus and say you can't.
I don't think either you should ever restrict someone's accessory building at all. If you wanna put some sort of restriction in there about using their home, but at the same
How big
time,
a house do you have though? I mean,
no, but like if you're using 100% of your house for your occupation, then how are you getting a homestead exemption? And
Yeah.
So doesn't that sort of work itself out with us without us saying anything about what percentage they use?
I'm not sure how that works.
Right.
I would say 50% is probably reasonable.
Okay, because then you have your kitchen, you know, you have your
Yeah.
bedroom.
Is there anything you need to do on hours of operation or days of?
Yeah.
I mean,
I have, you know,
for a home occupation, it's not changing the character or evidence, so I would say no on the home occupation, but maybe on the home-based business. Because, yeah,
Right.
maybe you have a little mini sawmill. in
So
your
you could
yard.
say
Yeah,
you become a
can't run it
home,
at midnight.
you become a home-based business if
Chicken, then it comes down.
your hours are outside or.
Yeah, if you're,
Make an accessory noise.
if your neighbors know, if you're outside with the sawing stuff all the time and like building things, and your neighbors are gonna notice, then yeah, you probably should have some sort of reasonable, like you shouldn't be out there at 3 a.m.
Right.
and I've heard complaints about people sawing stuff in the middle of the day. They could hear their TVs, so,
Stop with your hearing
you know, there's noise considerations that.
People complain no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, so gosh.
I'm not trying to give a reason for someone to block, but I'm thinking,
Yeah,
I just, you know, it's tough because like I know a guy that makes cabinets at home in his garage and nobody would know. There's not a
Right, so
single,
that should be home occupation.
not a single person in here.
right, that should be a home occupation.
I don't.
But technically, according to this, if he lives in Dalton Township, he's violating the zoning ordinance by
That's
making
why
a
we're
cabinet,
fixing
and that's,
Well, I would never tell you anything.
So I mean, I think like home occupation, I think is good the way it is, except for get rid of what districts is permitted in.
and the 50%.
And get
right?
rid of, yeah.
What if we got rid of the book and then everything that came to us, it was by a board of steers and we made decisions without the book? Wouldn't that be great?
You sure?
Shall be one.
in between that, though, there'd be a lot of problems.
No, he's on.
I know some municipalities for things like workshops, they'll list certain horsepower, total horsepower use. A lot of them are very, very low, like 3 horsepower, which they'll planer to table saw. They're good their horsepower.
Yeah, that's 5 one.
Right, and I like this one where it says similar in power and type for usual household purposes. Okay, but now that's pretty broad, right? Okay, I have a big F table saw. But I don't know.
There goes your horsepower limit.
But who wants to check that? You know what I mean? Like,
I'm not.
we don't
going
wanna, we don't wanna regulate what we're not gonna check anymore.
But why does C have to exist then? If you have 12 employees and I can't even tell that you have 12 employees, then does it really matter? If it's not changing the character of your house, how are we telling you it can only be the people who live there plus not more than one other person?
How are you going to know?
Right.
Okay, so then you have 12 employees coming to your house every day.
Don't you think that would change the character, thus throwing you into
Correct.
home-based business?
Correct.
Yeah. I think
That's more cut and dry than telling.
Yeah, home-based business is more reasonable to have more than one employee.
Yeah.
That could be something that's also reconsidered.
Yeah, but if there's like 12 ladies sitting around and they're cutting things on their Cricut and putting them on a Stanley Cup to sell online, then, I mean, it's not really up to me to tell them they can't be a home occupation.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to call out how many people.
I'm fine with that. I get what they're trying to get at, is that that's a small thing. But I
Right.
mean, I don't have a problem with that either. I know what you're saying personally. I don't know.
Just add the carpool clause, that's what we'll put in there. You must, your bus cannot be larger.
So I could see you getting rid of C and G both. I mean, it just talks about.
Or we simplify G to just put 50%. Just if you wanna have something so people don't go crazy, but
More than 50% of the dwelling.
But nothing
about
about
the
the
accessory
accessory,
building.
yes, exactly.
Right.
Because how can you tell somebody who built a pole barn
Right.
that they can't do
Right.
whatever they want in there?
You have to
I don't
build
care
double
if
the
they
pole
have
barn.
27,000 Stanley Cups in their pole barn, because they're working on it one at a time, it's none of my business at
That's no
all.
different, no.
Exactly, it's 2,000 square feet combined.
Yeah, I just think 50% of your house. Like, make sure it's still at least a house, you share your house, you share your business, but then your accessory building is really none of our business. I hate to put things in a zoning ordinance that you know full well no one's ever gonna check.
Yeah, we're not, right, that's what
I mean, that's just dumb, why you're just making more pages when we're not gonna go in someone's house.
Right.
Like to see you get a search warrant because they're trying to do over 1,000
Exactly.
square feet.
Right. I agree.
Everything else in that section seems somewhat reasonable, and it kind of just builds upon the fact that if you did those other things, you definitely would be changing the character, so. I think C and G are not necessary in changing it to permitted in more zoning districts. And again, like for 1637B, I don't think we should be telling them how many people can, if we're making them get a permit and it's and we recognize that it's maybe changing the character of their neighborhood, I don't think, so does that mean that like TNA can't have more than one employee?
They are commercial, like they were rezoned to commercial.
Okay, so the new guy that we weren't here last month, he can't have more than one employee?
Correct.
Oh, for Pete's sake, who cares if he has two
What if they're
people?
two part-time?
If nobody else cares, I think that's really none of our business. But that's just my opinion.
Right, so, but then you have to find an employee technically too.
Yeah.
You're gonna employ on payroll or 1099 guy. I mean,
Right. And then if you're running a home-based business, then shouldn't there be some, when it says no outdoor storage, like, we can overrule that, is that what I'm, or we just can't, cause it says right here, no. It's not really telling us the planning commission can decide, cause if you wanna store, say you are a cabinet maker and people come to your showroom and stuff and you wanna store lumber outside, like, we're basically saying you're permitted as a home-based business, but you still can't store your lumber outside?
You could potentially modify that
That it's,
requirement.
yeah, just say giving us leeway.
Yeah, and that's what you ended up doing last month. I'm not a huge fan of that as just a precedent. But sometimes it's also necessary to make sure that people can use their property in the way that's best.
Well, cause I feel like there is some times where outdoor storage of certain things would not really affect anybody.
Right here-
There are times it would affect people
Yeah, and here again,
greatly.
you have the whole property thing, right? If I have 100 acres and I want to put $4 of lumber out there and it's 500 feet off the road, and nobody can see it, it doesn't matter, right?
So
But you
somebody-
can't do that on 100 by 100
Yeah,
feet.
but somebody
Right,
that have a
right,
home-based business
exactly.
can store whatever they want outside.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
exactly.
thank
like a
you.
home-based business, like you need things.
Well, even
So let's talk about this cabinet person again, because we're on it. So the guy decides he's gonna upsell his customers on a little Corian cutting board. But it says, no goods and commodities other than those customarily associated with home business, the cabinet builder, shall be sold on the premises. Is he gonna be allowed to sell the little countertop piece?
That's splitting.
Yeah, that seems associated.
But
I think it's pretty
That's
close.
splitting
that's like,
hairs.
why? They were
No,
not.
I
You
don't,
could probably sell dishes, knives, like all kinds of things that.
What would that apply to?
kitchen guy.
Right.
Where would you apply that, right there? I can't really think of a good.
You can work Corian like you work wood.
Yeah.
Well, associated really gives you a lot of leeway.
Yeah.
Cause there's a lot of things associated with things.
I think the storage outdoors really pertain very well. Their good example was auto repair. You know, and having all the stuff outside the garage.
How do you limit that with, cause I
Well,
see
that's
what
why-
you're saying,
that's
you don't
why-
want it to be up to the planning
That's why it's
commission.
probably written that way, so you don't limit it, just
No
don't.
is so bad
Just
though.
don't do it, period.
That's a little harsh.
If we go back to our definitions, it doesn't disrupt the, what is that worded?
Right.
I mean, if you go to that, shall not change the essential character of the dwelling. Or the accessory building.
Right.
So in a home-based business, if,
We're understanding it's going to change some, so there's a lot of work to do on this.
yeah.
Yeah, this one's gonna be a lot
Man,
harder.
Yeah, it's going to change it some, right? It's gonna be evident to the public.
Yeah,
That's
like
the whole
that
idea
doesn't
with
make
the
any
business.
sense.
Correct.
There's no
Right.
change in the
That
outside
it's
appearance.
evident to the public.
You're identifying, that's the whole difference between home occupation. You
Right.
would stay with that one if you were gonna do the out, but you have to have.
In regards to based businesses, would you be open to something like a corner store or a cafe? In either part of the residence itself or in an accessory building?
Cafe,
I know
No, I
it's-
think
it's
that's
more
too
suited
far.
for urban areas, but
I think that might be too far. Like, why would you run a cafe out
that's
of
a
your house?
commercial,
like a small.
no.
Like two stools? I think that screams like a
Throwing out
business.
ideas.
Yeah, you're
I see
scaring
what you're
me.
saying, because there's, so, I mean, like, you know, you can't have, in Dalton Township, maybe the coffee thing, I never go to one, but.
Yeah, like the guy that opened up a bar in his garage.
Big
Chain,
B's or-
Big B, yeah, okay, you're never gonna support a Big B, right? But you could support a mini Big B for 4 people in your garage.
Would you
right?
really
Yeah,
though?
people might drive by,
You run a business, Jesse. Could you really make
No,
money
I'm
at a
saying-
coffee shop that had only?
for somebody, for a secondary income.
In their home, a residential property?
Wouldn't that just be your friend? Would you ever go sit at some stranger's house and drink coffee or eat their food?
Make your
Somebody,
own
you know,
coffee.
somebody's really into barbecue, they open up their
I'm
home on
just asking what
Saturday
Steve's
nights,
saying with that, yes.
and they sell people hot dogs and ribs and stuff like that.
Okay, will the health department even let you
Right.
I don't.
not be a licensed business but have a health department permit for a commercial kitchen?
They're selling pies.
Yeah, if you sell pies, you have to have, yeah, otherwise you have to label it,
Cottage
say
industry.
that it's a cottage industry. Ain't never met no pie maker that wants anybody at their house.
I'm not sure if they make,
People
make wedding cakes? I don't know if they have to have.
That's a good example.
Have you ever seen someone making a wedding cake that wants the person buying the wedding cake to be there with them while they're making it?
No,
No, they're all.
I just wanna pick it up. I mean, it's.
Or have it delivered.
Yes,
What you want.
they almost always deliver a wedding cake. They're afraid you're gonna destroy their creation before the wedding. No, I think, in my
That's a good
opinion, you've
example.
gone too far now. A corner cafe or in your house is a little much.
No.
That's gonna destroy the character of your neighborhood. It's not gonna.
Unless it was in like a little association and they had the little common area and then there was this guy that had a.
That's true, but then that gets separated, though, if it's site condo or whatever type of deal.
And I could push that Keurig button like nobody's business if I could have people say, "Are you ready for your coffee, sir?"
Flat out, flat out, flat out.
Yeah, that's my chair, sir.
What does 1637G even mean? An accessory building used shall comply with all other applicable provisions of this ordinance with respect to accessory buildings. Is that just a bunch of words together?
Basically says comply with 14.2.
Okay, but
Yeah.
of course, your accessory building has to comply to other ordinances.
But remember that most people reading this don't know this book like you and I do. Right? Somebody wants a home-based business, they're not gonna automatically go look at accessory buildings. And I know that's part of the reason for having some of this stuff because,
Yeah, that's true.
right, they're not gonna go look there. They're gonna
Yeah.
look here, what can I do?
That's very true. They're
Right?
only
And then when you
thinking
bring
about
up accessory buildings, you're like, oh, what can I do for accessory building?
Right.
I guess. It's you and I, it's not.
Oh, hell, I'm not doing any of that.
Does an auto repair business need to be licensed?
It does
Like,
have
there's
to have a
a-
license from the,
There's some
from
verbiage
the
in there,
township.
but the storage of hazardous, blah.
Probably something where you're only, required on your certain quantity. You know, 5 gallons of gas laying around. I don't know.
Okay.
Do you want
Any of those comments do you any good in terms of
Yeah.
molding some,
Good direction.
okay.
So we have a starting point, I think the home occupation one was probably pretty,
That's pretty simple.
That's pretty
I think we're
simple.
pretty clear on that.
the. And the ideas thrown out for 1637, we can take the ones we gave you and go with what we've got so far and then maybe
Yeah,
take it up
what we
again.
have and put something basic together. But if you wanna pick it up a notch or tone it down a little, that's you fine tune it.
They're both somewhat well written. It just, you're right, we just needed to clean it up a little and define them better. But most of these other things on even 1637 are necessary for people to understand the ordinance better.
The definitions of which businesses apply should be an example,
Yeah,
or you even want to have those.
I'm not sure you even need to give an example of any.
And we are very, like you said, we're very selective.
Yeah, it's too tight. Cause there are some catering businesses that you would not change the character and there are some that would definitely change the character. So all of these you could say could be either one depending on the scope of the person's business.
You know, what this is lacking, it's obvious based upon our conversations, is that there's really, you can't really discern what is the spirit of this, you know? Well, we're trying to be accommodating, trying to be fair, you know, we've taken into consideration the neighbors, your neighbors, you know, the existing property, reasonable, you know, all those terms that somebody might, you know, benefit from when you first come in here and visit, look at the ordinance and apply or whatever.
I mean, I can't honestly believe that this home-based business ever got written like this because I don't know how, when section P, when you're asking about what you're submitting to the planning commission, the size and location of all these things, even talking about parking and hours of operation and stuff, but then you're also saying that you can't have outdoor storage, you can't do this, you basically can't do anything in a home-based business according to this, but then we're asking you in P to tell us everything your home-based business is gonna do to change the character of your neighborhood. But then we're telling you you can't change the character of your neighborhood. There should be no change in the outside appearance of your dwelling. You cannot have outdoor storage. Like, there's so much contradiction in this that needs to be cleaned up. And I think all of this stuff about like P, that this is stuff you would wanna know for a home-based business. I just think I just don't think you can tell somebody you cannot change anything about your house, and I can't even know you're running a business. But now do all of this stuff like you're running a regular business in a commercial district. Like, we have to let them change some of the stuff about their house if we're gonna require so much of them, and we're gonna restrict them so much with their hours and stuff.
And a fee.
In a fee, yeah, I mean, you have to be giving them something for that, and telling them, F, you can't change anything, and D, you can't store anything. It seems to me like everybody then, we're basically not giving them anything. Like,
Right.
you're basically a home occupation where you also can't change anything, you can't do anything, but now you can do that for
Right.
free,
So this
so.
one needs to loosen up. I mean,
This one needs to loosen up a little because,
But we do wanna know what they're doing.
yes, absolutely. Don't loosen like P and stuff, O and P, because we need to know what they're doing if they're gonna be changing things.
Casey, you weren't here when the neighbor to the auto repair guy came in and he provided an in-depth commentary of what he, in this township, what the township required of him 20 years ago, starting with rezoning. Secondly, paved driveway. I mean, it was like all the things he had to do, and he was not angry. He really provided some insight to us. And he happens to be, his competition's moving next door, the new guy.
Right.
But he was like, you know, I had this, and Dave and I and the rest of us, wow, I was a little bit embarrassed, but it was 20 years ago.
But that's the way it used to be.
They put him through hell. to have
That's the
a-
way it used to be here. I mean, 'cause
Right,
we started in
right.
2002. Well, I mean, you guys must be around
Oh,
too,
yeah.
2001
2000,
or
yes,
something.
we've
I
had to
mean,
go through so
and-
much that
Yeah,
others
I
don't
mean,
now have to.
all the
Yeah.
early 2000s, I mean, it
It
was,
was
that
crazy.
was, you were,
It was amazing.
you were going to the freaking grinder. I
Yeah.
mean, they did
We-
not want anybody
I-
here, and I mean.
Right,
Personally, I don't want an auto repair shop next to my house. I don't. You know, fencing, keep it quiet, not a lot of cars, you know, that all makes sense. Don't store all this stuff outdoors. I don't want that. I don't think anybody else does either. So I think you have to write it with some, not real firm, but some scope of what the township expects. And then any stipulations after that. Those don't have to be real harsh, but nobody wants that next to their house, I don't think.
Yeah, there again, it comes back on the property size a little bit, right?
Well,
yeah,
that's,
and where you live.
well, that,
I mean, if you live on the lake and, or you live on M120, there's a big difference between the character of your neighborhood already.
Right. So character of the neighborhood is kind of
Right.
maybe an important.
Yep, it is, I think.
Character.
for sure.
Which is gonna be.
You look at things
Do
like,
not unduly obscure your noise.
Right, unduly.
you look at the business that we've had in here several times, the garbage business. Anyone who brings garbage, who wants garbage trucks
Nobody.
next to them?
No,
But you know what, who needs them?
everybody.
Yep.
Yeah,
And you know, it's one of those things, we gotta find a way to make it so it fits what we need, at the same time not
Yeah.
hurting what we have.
yeah.
Just a reasonable tone of direction, I think.
So I always feel bad when those guys come in, because every time I see them, when they pick my garbage up, I'm like saluting them, going, hey, thanks, appreciate it.
Mhm.
But at the same time, when people go, hey, you know what, I don't want that in my neighborhood, they all come in and complain, I don't want that, you know, we've had that fisticuffs and everything
Yeah.
else about that, so. I think these are ones, do you have a pretty good sampling of what we're gonna kind of start from?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything anybody sees on that we wanna add, or we can always add more to it or take more out if we want? Pretty good ideas on,
Yeah, I think 30 days from now, we'll all have a little bit better idea, maybe some specifics and some compromise to all the interruptions I came up with tonight. But yeah, I could see, I saw this space at 20 years ago, Township was.
It was very tough to do business in this township.
They wanted this whole thing to be a recreational community, sounds like.
Guess I didn't even understand how they could force me to do some of that stuff if it's MDOT's purview too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beginning here, we didn't do that, I told them it's 10,000.
They had to put in our special use permit for the campground, one of the planning commissioners insisted that we have a rule that no one stopped in our driveway and dumped their sewage into Duck Creek.
Oh, yeah, they used to go up and.
What?
Stuff like that.
Jesse probably knows exactly who I'm talking about, that was.
I don't, but I can only imagine, I mean, that's, it was always like,
Yeah,
but no, I don't.
like that's in our permit. Don't worry, no one's dumping sewage in Duck Creek. Number one, they'd be blocking our entire driveway. It's only one way in and one way out. And your site has a sewer drop. Every single site does, so just dump it there. But yeah, it's hard to do business.
All right, are we good on, are we good on that then? All right. Well, we have exhausted that. We come to X.
I make a motion to adjourn again.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll end that at 7:06.
So,
Over.